is literally nothing you could say. Nothing. I'm like the staunchest atheist you'll ever meet.
I am from Czech Republic.
The most atheistic country in the world, according to some
Exactly.
data.
I think that questions about God are pretty much unknowable.
Oh, I love talking about this
wonderful.
shit. Why do you have to show up right now?
This is the legend right here you talk to.
I believe in God, but I want to be convinced otherwise. I'm looking for someone who can convince me that God doesn't exist. Do you believe in God?
I think I'm like agnostic.
Okay.
So I think there's a higher power, but not too sure what it is.
Do you believe in God?
I do not believe.
I don't believe in God.
I do believe in science. The only thing what like Americans have, the God is like, hey, you must believe. We cannot prove it to you. I cannot accept that. Sorry.
Okay.
I think there's just no evidence for or against.
Okay.
So it's something that you have to take on faith one way or the other,
Okay.
like, however you feel.
You might be surprised to know that, for example, Islam doesn't actually invite people to have blind faith. It actually requires that we use our rationality, our reason. Logically, there has to be an initial cause. And regarding that initial cause, whatever that is, that's one definition of God. Then we know that time cannot create itself, space cannot create itself, matter cannot create itself. A thing cannot create itself. It has to be caused by something else. That means that the thing that caused time is outside of time, the thing that caused space is outside of space, the thing that caused matter is outside of matter, immaterial, timeless. So that is exactly the definition of God that the Holy Quran speaks about. The only difference, I mean, you have to agree that logically, whether you call it God or the singularity, that exists.
I think that I kind of agree with you that on this one. I believe that there must be something. Americans call it God. They have many things around it, which I already disagree with.
Yeah,
But I believe there is something, and maybe you very nicely framed it.
You know, most of the people we talk to, honestly, they don't deny this version of God. Einstein and most of the great scientists, they subscribe to this very belief in God.
I think that I can say that there is. I cannot disprove this. Yeah, I think that what you have said is completely fine.
This is what the greatest scientists, from Einstein to Schrödinger to so many others, concede. So their concept of God, for example, Einstein's concept of God is, yes, if you define God like that, there has to be a God. So I believe in that regard, from an atheistic perspective, from a scientific perspective, there's no such thing as an atheist in that way. It's the baggage that religion attaches to that concept that we're like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Is that more accurate?
I agree with you. Definitely organized religion is something different than just believing in an entity.
Yeah.
I still don't believe in the other one, but I agree with you.
Okay. Islam doesn't believe in some physical version of God. Islam says that the thing that started all of this is extremely powerful and also extremely intelligent, because intelligence can't come from non-intelligence. And so Islam is like, look, we have one moment on this earth. Take a moment to try to get to know why you're here. What do you think about that?
I think it's beautiful. I mean, I think it's beautiful. I mean, there's no way around it or something like that. You know, I think it's very nice. It's very like forward, sort of like thinking. It seems like, you know.
What you said about Islam, like it might like help give some kids like a home. You know what I mean? Like if they agree with what you just said, like, you know, they would just have to learn more about it.
Your first thing that you said, I'd never heard that before. That's like pretty miraculous.
What's the most challenging argument that you've ever heard from an atheist?
Maybe because they can't see God. They don't believe in God because they can't see Him.
Have you ever heard a response to that?
No.
Every force, gravity, electromagnetism, the strong, weak nuclear forces, all of these different forces, they're all invisible to the naked eye. As we go up the ladder of every force in the universe, the more powerful the force becomes, the more invisible it becomes to the naked eye.
Yeah.
So as you keep going up, 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 up into the highest forces, whether it's gravity, they can't be seen. So imagine the force behind that force. How could it be seen by the naked eye?
That's so true.
If I'm asking you to prove the person in your life who loves you the most, prove to me that that person loves you, you're not going to take a piece of that love and bring it in a laboratory. Right. So when they ask, show me God, that's what they're asking. Show me the smell of that flower looks like. I want to see it. And you're asking the wrong question, right?
I hear a lot of people say, if God exists, why do evil things happen? Or stuff like that. And
so many bad things are happening right now. What's your, argument? What's stopping from anybody saying that God doesn't exist? Because if God did exist, why is bad happening? Why is why are wars being fought in the world? So that's
Good.
one of the.
Do you have a response for that?
I do not really
Okay.
have a response.
Can I give it a try?
Sure, you can.
So we talk about the problem of evil, right?
Yeah.
And people say, okay, if God is all good, then why does he allow evil to go on?
Yeah.
But the real question is, it starts off, do you have free will?
Yeah.
Do you make your own decisions? Do you believe that you have free will, that you make your own decisions?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You and I both believe that we make our own decisions. If we didn't believe that, then there would be no legal system. There would be no means of accountability, system of accountability. If somebody came up to me and stabbed me in the back, I would have absolutely no right to feel outraged because there is no free will. If we believe that there is free will, then that means I make my own decision. I'm responsible for the evil that I perpetrate in the world. If I'm responsible for the evil that I perpetrate in the world, then why am I blaming God? So we need to start taking accountability for the evil that we're perpetrating. And actually, if we take accountability, we can minimize suffering down to 1% of 1%. We know that. If I eat pizza every single day for 5 months and I end up in the hospital, I'm like, oh, God made me fat, right? There's no created evil. Yes, there are disasters and whatnot. Like, for example, an earthquake took place, people died. But if you ask about God, then you have to ask in the entire picture, the afterlife. There's an afterlife. Anyone who faces something horrible in this life, God will compensate. If you and I feel indignant about that poor baby who died under the rubble, what about the one who put that mercy in our hearts? The one who began all of this? You think that person's not indignant? So that's, like when you ask about God, I always say we have to ask about the whole picture. I can't pick one piece of a clock, like the needle, and be like, this doesn't tell time.
Right. I agree with that. I agree with everything you said there. It makes sense.
It's really good. Yeah, free will, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we are allowed to to do what we want, and it's our decision to do good or bad. So.
Do you personally believe that God started life on Earth, or do you think that is intertwined with evolution?
I completely believe that God started life, but I also completely believe in evolution. Did you know, and this is the issue, like when the Christian world was very upset at Darwin's findings, the Muslim world was celebrating. Muslim scholars had been mocked for centuries by Christian scholars for the Quranic belief in evolution. It's not even ambiguous, right? It's like very specific that these are the stages that human beings went through. There was a point where fire was rooting everything, and then there was a point where all of life came from water. It was common knowledge that the Holy Quran has said that everything has undergone evolution except for God. That's what differentiates between the initial cause and everything else. So we never had a problem with evolution. What's the best argument that you may have heard in favor of atheism that you think really is difficult to get?
I guess there's just so many complex things in the world in terms of biology. Like, there's a lot of trial and error, and if everything was perfect, there wouldn't be trial and error. So doesn't the concept of evolution denote that God is taking everything from an imperfect state to a progressively more advanced state? So aren't the imperfections within the definition of evolution? I guess.
Like if a person were painting something, at first there's a silhouette, there's random slabs of paint, it's imperfect, but the end product shows us what the actual intention was. What do you think about that?
I guess a lot of people say that we're made in God's image.
Okay.
And if we're imperfect, that means that God is imperfect.
That's a really good point. So Islam says that human beings have been given the ability to be godly, but we've been given free will, a choice. And that's what makes this whole journey worthwhile, right? It's true. The Bible says we've been created in God's image, and we say, why is there so much evil and iniquity? But the meaning of what Islam says is that human beings have been given the ability to be godly, and that's a choice that we make. What do you think about that version of?
I think I like that idea better. One of the things I do really like about Islam is that there aren't pictures of things. I like that it's the words and that's the art.
Interesting.
And I think that illustrates a lot more than, our own subjective idea of what someone looks like.
I'm sorry, I'm having an argument between me and my girlfriend. She's chasing me down the street. So, no, it's fine, it's fine. I need this break. It's good. 5 more minutes.
Nothing.
I hate them.
You hate them. So you believe that what the Bible says is correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And currently what science is saying about evolution is not correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I see. How can you reconcile the two things? One's a hard fact, one's a claim in a book.
I don't know.
Okay.